The fighting at Okinawa in mid-1945 was reaching a breaking point for the restless United States Marines, and sanity was slipping away. Nearly 2 months of relentless battle under mud, rain, blood, and continuous Japanese artillery barrages and mortar strikes were taking their toll on the Leathernecks. 20-year-old Marine Private Eugene Sledge watched as the Japanese soldiers launched ceaseless kamikaze attacks, swords unsheathed when cornered with no escape. Sledge witnessed his fellow Marines transform into beasts, resorting to the same grisly tactics as the Japanese military. With each push the Marines made towards conquering the island, they seemed to lose more of their humanity. Yet, the fight had to continue. The war's outcome depended on it. The iconic image of the Marines raising the American flag on Mount Suribachi had given a tremendous boost to national morale. When the United States Marines captured Iwo Jima on March 16, 1945, Admiral Raymond Spruance, commander of the Fifth Fleet, was already heading towards the Ryukyus Islands, southwest of the main Japanese islands. Spruance's objective was daunting: to assemble the largest amphibious assault force of the war to capture Okinawa and eliminate the last barrier between the Allied forces and mainland Japan. The grueling island-hopping campaigns of the Pacific Theater were nearing their end, and Spruance needed every bit of naval power available. Japanese resistance, both at sea and on land, was expected to be unyielding, necessitating a combined force of more than 350,000 naval personnel and 1,600 ships. The capture of Okinawa, codenamed Operation Iceberg, was crucial. If American forces secured the island's airfields, including the Kadena Air Base, they could commence bombing raids over Tokyo and other major Japanese cities. Okinawa was vital for Operation Downfall, the planned invasion of the Japanese home islands. A specific ground force was needed to seize the island, leading to the creation of the 10th Army. This cross-branch force included the Army's 7th, 27th, 77th, and 96th Divisions, commanded by Lieutenant General Simon Bolivar Buckner. The 1st, 2nd, and 6th Marine Divisions were led by Major General Roy S. Geiger. Ultimately, over 180,000 men comprised the 10th Army, supported by a tactical air force with Joint Army and Marine Command. Facing them was Lieutenant General Mitsuru Ushijima's 100,000-strong 32nd Army. However, the Imperial Army was a shadow of its former self. The Japanese soldiers knew the war was lost, and their morale was significantly diminished. Only 67,000 were professional soldiers, with some 9,000 Imperial Navy sailors, and 40,000 rear militia known as Boeitai. These men, drafted by local Ryukyuan people, had little training or weaponry and fought mainly for their loved ones and hometowns. The Imperial Army had even forced over 1,800 boys, aged 14 to 18, to volunteer for combat. Propaganda had convinced civilians that the Americans were merciless, fueling fear and desperation. Ushijima's objective was to inflict as much damage as possible, draining American resources. Instead of fighting on the beaches, his men retreated into a network of tunnels and caves, shielding themselves from naval artillery and bombs. The Imperial Navy also planned mass kamikaze attacks. Task Force 58 reached Okinawa on March 23, 1945, bombarding the island to weaken Japanese defenses. Joined by British Task Force 57, they attacked enemy positions. Between March 24th and 31st, Okinawa was ravaged by Allied naval artillery and American bombing runs. Kisei-shima, a small group of islets off Okinawa, was secured with minimal Japanese air opposition. On Easter morning, the men boarded their landing vehicles, approaching Okinawa's decimated shores by the hundreds. Surprisingly, resistance was minimal, allowing the 1st and 6th Marine Divisions, with the 7th, 27th, and 96th Army Divisions, to quickly secure the southwest coast. By day's end, over 75,000 troops had established a beachhead, completing in one day what was expected to take 3. Journalist Ernie Pyle had noted the absence of expected carnage. However, on April 6th, the Japanese launched a surprise attack. As the United States Army and Marines penetrated the island's interior, chaos ensued. Japanese pillboxes unleashed accurate machine gun fire, while hidden mortars and artillery tore into advancing columns. The men shifted to defense, allowing armored Shermans and flamethrowers to force the Japanese from their positions. Air support faced challenges when the Imperial Navy launched a massive kamikaze attack, with over 400 Japanese fighters targeting American vessels. These suicide pilots made the ultimate sacrifice, diving directly at warships. Between April 6th and early June, the Japanese launched 10 large-scale attacks, damaging over 158 Allied ships and sinking more than 20. Vice Admiral C.R. Brown, for Paris, described the fear sailors felt watching the kamikazes, noting the alien spectacle. The Imperial Navy soon launched Operation 10 Go, a surprise attack with 10 warships, including the Yamato, the largest battleship ever assembled. Spotted by Navy submarines, a brief yet crucial battle ensued, with 300 Navy fighters and torpedo bombers disabling the Yamato in less than 3 hours. By the encounter's end, Yamato and 4 Japanese destroyers were sunk, along with Admiral Ito and 3,600 sailors. As the battle raged, torrential rains drenched the fighting men in their foxholes. Eugene Sledge saw his comrades consumed by the prospect of returning to the fray. The Japanese promised to make the Americans pay for every inch of land, and their resolve was unwavering. Close-quarters combat was relentless, with flamethrowers needed to flush out entrenched Japanese soldiers. On April 21st, the Army secured Lashima. Tragically, Ernie Pyle was killed by a concealed machine gun nest, impacting morale but not halting progress. Days later, soldiers encountered Hacksaw Ridge, where medic Desmond Doss, a conscientious objector, proved heroic, saving countless lives under fire, earning the Medal of Honor. By May, most of the island was under American control. Despite repeated Japanese offensives, Ushijima's forces retreated beyond the Shuri Line, an 8-mile defensive position. Ferocious firefights erupted near Shuri Castle, where Japanese artillery targeted Marines. Supported by artillery from USS Mississippi, Marines finally planted the American flag atop Shuri Castle. On June 18th, General Simon Bolivar Buckner was killed by Japanese artillery, becoming the highest-ranking United States officer to fall in the war. 2 days later, when resistance was futile, General Ushijima committed seppuku rather than surrender. Scattered resistance waned, and by June 30th, the hard-fought island was conquered. If you enjoyed this content, visit our channel for more stories like this. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Also, let us know in the comments where you are watching from.